Finally, it is here, the much awaited, the much debated, the much anticipated retelling of the Ramayana by director Om Raut. A retelling of one of India's most loved stories, one that we have heard numerous times and watched various versions of. There is Ramanand Sagar's TV show Ramayana, there is the Amar Chitra Katha comics based on Ramayana, there is the retelling by writers like R.K. Narayan, animated versions like the Japanese Prince of Ayodhya, and the numerous mythological movies across languages. So how does Adipurush fare? Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. You're watching NotATollyReview. My name is HridayRanjan. This week's movie is Adipurush. The film stars Prabhas, Kriti Sanon, Saif Ali Khan and others. The film is directed by Om Raut. If you watched Om Raut's earlier movie, Tanhaji, you would know that his style of filmmaking is rather simplistic. It is high on action, but a little easy on subtleties or nuance. Adipurush as a film is well aware of the visual references that came before it, and it attempts a retelling in visual style. In fact, I would go so far as to say that any visual references that you have of the Ramayana have been reimagined and recreated by the makers in a visual style. That is something that really worked for me. The writers and the VFX team are imaginative in the way they reinterpret some of the characters. Ravana, Indrajit, Sugriva, Shurpanaka, like there's a scene of Ravana getting a massage from snakes. His 10 heads are depicted as voices in his head. Lanka is depicted as this dystopian land with skyscrapers and cherry blossom gardens. Lord Rama is called Raghava and he's humanized in the story, similar to K.M. Munshi's Krishnavtara series. Casting stereotypes and rewriting of characters like Shurpanaka have been done with more dignity, and that is something that is really positive about the movie. Some of these might work for you and some might not, and that's a personal decision, but at least the makers went in trying to create a different visual template, and I like that. However, the problem with Adipurush is it's a VFX heavy movie. The entire movie is shot on green screen and the VFX is not really remarkable. For example, the characters of Sugriva, Jambavan and the rest of the Vanarsena, they look poorly drawn. The fight scenes are not great visually and they're not even very original or imaginative. Like in some of the fight scenes, I could see distinct traces of the Battle of Bastards from the Game of Thrones. Another fight scene reminded me of the final battle between Harry Potter and Voldemort in the Harry Potter universe. There is also a scene that is reminiscent of X-Men and Flash. And that is perhaps the biggest disappointment with the movie Adipurush. The fact that the movie does not exploit the 3D format enough. The thing about VFX movies or animated movies in general is that they make you see and feel things that normal real life action movies cannot. The VFX over here doesn't really stand out. In fact, you don't fully get immersed into the world that the makers are making for you. The visuals seem like a beta version of a VR game that is not fully developed. But of course, the bigger issue is VR over here is also Valmiki's Ramayana. Now that's a story that is so familiar with almost the entire nation that I could at one point almost empathize with the makers because they had to take the decision of what to leave out. It is a Herculean task and the makers focus on the war. But in this process, we miss out on some of the more colorful characters, the more nuanced characters in the epic, like Maricha, for example, or Kumbhakarna, who is one of my favorite characters in Ramayana. The ethical dilemma of the Vali-Sugriva fight is also missing. The characters are not fleshed out enough, and even the whistle-inducing scenes, like the lifting of the mountain, do not elicit the kind of drama, the excitement, the blood pumping in your veins. All that is unfortunately missing. In terms of performances, Saif Ali Khan, who gets the modern recreation of Ravana, makes you feel something at the end of the film. While it's not 100% convincing all the time, he does put in the effort. Dubbed by Ravi Shankar, the dubbing also works. And it doesn't sound like, wow, it's a better version. While most characters were reimagined, it is with the Janaki character that the writers do the most injustice. Kriti Sanon's performance leaves you pretty much unmoved. Prabhas, interestingly, seems to have genuinely cared for the role. He enacts it with some grace and dignity. and the VFX works to his advantage here. And I don't know if it is the heft of the character, but he seems genuinely invested. It was certainly better performance than his recent few movies. Adipurush as a movie gets some things right. The visuals have been given some thought, and I personally was waiting to see what they would do with the next character that was coming up. The music is also rousing. Unfortunately, the makers are let down by the VFX team and the visuals don't live up to the epic scale of the story. If you can ignore that, Ajay Atul's music, the performances and the visual retelling could work for you. Instead of going the usual mythological route, the makers of Adipurush go the superhero route, something that kids might appreciate and enjoy. If you can overlook the visuals, you might like the movie. The movie is well on its way to become a massive success and probably proves that our opinions sometimes don't really matter in the face of divine intervention. Thank you so much for watching our review of the movie Adipurush. Please remember to subscribe to Film Companion South on YouTube for more videos, reviews and interviews. Thank you.